Hi grade 1, welcome to your last session of music with me. It has been fun making these videos with you and hopefully we've been learning a lot together because next term we'll hopefully be able to start recorder and we're going to need to know everything we've learned this term in order to play the recorder well and in order to understand what we're playing. So let's take a look at what we've done this term. Let's try and understand it, and at the end, week 12, you will receive a small assessment. It's not going to be hard if you've been studying this, but if you haven't, it's going to be a bit tricky. So make sure you understand it, and it'll be fun to go through. So let's go through it. We have two different things we've been paying attention to this term. We have our type of notes, and we have our letter notes. Let's start off with our type of notes. We said if we have a note that we cannot see through, it is a quarter note, and it gets one beat. It can also be called a crotchet, if that's how the British people call it. And it gets one beat, which is ta. So if you can't see through it, one beat, ta, quarter note. If you can see through it, then it's a half note, or if the British people call it, a minim. And it gets two beats, ta, ah. So ta, ah. If you can see through it and it has a dot, then it gets three beats. That is a dotted half note, or as the British would call it, a dotted minim. And it goes ta, ah, ah. Alright, so quarter note, can't see through. Minim, I can see through it, which is a half note. Dotted half note, I can see through it, but it has a dot. And then the big daddy of them all, the whole note, and he gets the most beats, which is 4. Ta, ah, ah, ah. And remember, he's also called a semi-breve. That's how they call it in England. So they have two different versions. They have the American ones, which are the quarter, half, dotted half, and whole. They have the British version, which are the crotchet, minim, dotted minim, and semi-breve. But they're just the same thing. Alright? Then lastly, the rest. This rest, even though you stay quiet, remember you stay quiet for one beat. So it takes one beat. So these are our type of notes. Quarter note, half note, dotted half note, semi-breve, and our rest. When we get to our letter notes, this is where every good boy deserves Fanta comes into play, and face. So if it is on a line, we said it's every good boy deserves Fanta. So you have to check, is it a line note or is it a space note? If it's on the first line, it gets every, which is E. If it's on the second line, it gets good, which is G. If it's on the third line, it gets boy, which is B. If it's on the fourth line, it gets deserves, which is D. And if it's on the fifth line, it's our favorite soda, which is Fanta, so it gets F. However, if it's in a space, we hit our face, and we can never forget it. So that should be super easy. If it's in the first space, it gets F. If it's in the second space, it gets A. If it's in the third space, it gets C. If it's in the fourth space, it gets E. So two different things, our type of notes and our letter notes. Now in music, we don't keep them separate, we have to put them together. So that's where this comes into play. When I ask you what type of note is this, don't tell me this is an E, because that's not the type of note, that's the letter note. Yes, it's on the E line, which is every, but the type of note it is a minim. It's a half note, because you can see through it. If I ask you what type of note this is, you will tell me it's a quarter note, because that's the type of note it is. Don't say this is B, because that's the letter note, okay? So you have to be able to know the difference between your type of note and your letter note. If I ask you on this third one, what letter note does this note take? What is the letter note for this note? You will tell me this is a E. That's the letter note. If I ask you what is the letter note for this, you will tell me it is a C. You won't tell me it's a whole note. If I ask for the letter note, you tell me what letter it takes, okay? So let's try this out. Let's find the letter notes for all of these. So this is on the first line, that means it's a E for every. This one is on the third line, so every good boy. This one is on a space, the fourth space, so we use face. F-A-C-E, it's an E. And lastly, this whole note is on the third space, so F-A-C. And that's it. So if you understand the difference between your type of notes and your letter notes, this should be super easy and you're ready to start playing music. So if you need any help, go watch the other videos and fully understand it. Get your parents to watch it with you and to see if you understand it, and have fun with it. And we will see you in your end of term assessment and hopefully next term, but once again through videos. So let's keep up the positive spirit and the good attitude, and I'll see you then. Bye guys.